Okay, good morning, friends. Shalom Aleichem. We have a very interesting Sugya today. The Sugya of Yados, Kiddushin. The Gemara in Daf Vav Amud Beis asked, Boy, Rav Papa, Yesh Yad LeKiddushin Oilai. What's the case? The Gemara says the case is, you said to one woman, Haraya Mikudeshesli, you gave her money, and you said to the friend, and you. The Gemara says, you said to the friend, and you also? The Gemara says, no, if you said, and you also, then obviously that is Kiddushin Atzman, and you also. That's saying Haraya Mikudeshesli. That's the equivalent of saying Haraya Mikudeshesli. So Gemara says the case is where you said to woman one, Haraya Mikudeshesli, and to woman two you said, and you. The Ran explains the cases where you gave the first woman two prutais. Because if you gave the second woman a pruta also, then obviously you're marrying her. Now that's very telling. The Ran says, Leka lefrushe benoisen pruta lezu, then the vaday mashma de chahai gavna leka lesvike klau v'va'ad chazoi. If you gave her money, then you can't have a havamina that what you're saying to her is, and you watch, or and you consider. Because even ein yad the Kiddushin atzman hein. So the case is you gave the first woman 2 coins, 2 prutais, and you said Haraya Mikudeshesli, and you said to the other woman va'at. So the $1 million question here, all the Achronim asked this question, the Baal Nesivos HaMishpat, the Berchas Shmuel, Reb Chaim Brisker, the Stipler, Reb Shlomo Hyman, Reb Nachum, they all ask, wait a second, why do you need to speak by Kiddushin? Why do you need to speak? Is it Exeris HaKasav that you need to speak? You need to speak because we need to know he wants to get married. We need Giloi Das. We need to know that he wants to do this. So if the only reason you need Amira is because we need to know that he wants to get married, so there's no din bitois vasayim by Kiddushin. He just has to be Megala Das that he wants to get married. Then why do you need a din of Yados? Isn't it? Let's say there would be no din Yados by Kiddushin, but still it shows he wants to get married. Meaning the Ran says the shaila is, does it even work by Yadayim Eichichais? Meaning our question of Yesh Yad LeKiddushin is not only in a case where it's not Meichichais, but even if it is Meichichais, we have a question: are there Yados for Kiddushin? So the Achronim ask, why would you need a din Yad? Isn't the reason why a person has to speak by Kiddushin so that we know that he wants to get married? So even if there's no Yad by Kiddushin, we know he wants to get married. Shouldn't the fact that he said, and you, indicate that that's what his das is? There's no din of bitois vasayim. And the raya is, there's a Gemara in Kiddushin on Daf Vav, that if you are speaking to a woman about iske Kiddushin, and you're oisek ba'oisai inyan, you're talking about the wedding hall, you're talking about the gown, you're talking about the cufflinks, you're talking about the band, you're talking about the sheitel, and then you hand her money, so that works. But you never said Haraya Mikudeshesli. That shows that there's no din amira by Kiddushin. You just need an umdina and a haichacha that he's niskavin l'Kiddushin. There's no din amira. You just have to know that he wants it. So even if there's no din yados by Kiddushin, don't we at least know he wants to get married? So why wouldn't it work? Who cares Yesh Yad l'Kiddushin or ein Yad? We know what he wants. That's the question all the Achronim raise. Now, all the Achronim ask this question. There's no din amira by Kiddushin. Now, I'll tell you the truth, I don't understand the question. Even though 100 Achronim ask it, I never would have asked the question. Because I understand there is a din amira by Kiddushin. What's the halacha? I have a question. If a man gives kesef to a woman, he gives her a wedding ring, and she says, Haraya Mikudeshesli, or she says, no, I am being married to you, and he says, yep, that's right. Married or not married? Nasan hu va'amrahi, married or not married? Of course not. Not married. Why? Because you need nasanhu va'amarhu. So that means there is a din of amira by Kiddushin.
Also, if he says Harei Ab Mikudeshes and he doesn't specify Li.
If he says Harei Ad Mikudeshes and he doesn't specify Li, that's called Yadayim She'enon Meichichais. So you're saying, we see from there that there is a din of Amira? Or maybe over there it's because, I would say that doesn't work, you know why? Because we don't know that he wants to marry her. Maybe he's marrying her for somebody else. You hear? In other words...
But if there's an umdina, that obviously he's the chassid.
No, if he doesn't say Li, if he doesn't say Li, then it doesn't work. Is it because you don't have a din of Amira, or is it because we don't have an umdina? So the question of the Achroinim is assuming there's no din of Amira. We just need to know that the guy wants to get married. So in that case, who cares yesh yad or ein yad? We have the Giloi Das that we need. That's the question. Why do you need a din Yados? Don't we just need to know that the guy wants to get married? And we know that. Even if there's no din yad, don't we know he wants to get married? So let's start with the Teiras Gittin. Anybody know? Who wrote Sefer Teiras Gittin? Teiras Gittin was written by Rabbi Yaakov Lorberbaum, the author of Nesivos HaMishpat. He says, Simin Kuf Mem Aleph. After Parakam de Nedarim, Lo Yimar Binon Yados Rak B'Dvarim, the Chashav Hasam, Va'afilu B'Kiddushin, V'Gerushin, Upeo, Tzedakah, Masafgale, Ishayach Beyad. Mikamakim. So he says, in Nedarim, there's a shaila whether Yad works by Kiddushin. Mikamakim nearly the ad kanlo mi bailan ela bekedushin veinach the chashav hasam da b'chamakim heicha deika umdena demuchach mahani dvarim shabalev. We're only asking by Kiddushin because usually if you have an umdena that's muchach, dvarim shabalev work. In other words, if we have clear indication what you're thinking, that's good enough. We don't even need you to be megala das. We have a hoichacha what you're thinking. Like Tosha says in many places, we don't need you to tell us. If we know on our own clearly what you're thinking, that's good enough. The thing is, by Kiddushin, it's not good enough to know what you're thinking. Why? We need to know. We need to have a dibor. Uve Kiddushin, uve Gerushin, afilu ika umdina demuchach tuva loy mahani adi ika dibor. By Kiddushin and Gerushin, even when there's an umdina demuchach, it doesn't work until there's dibor. Okay, so basically the Nesivos is saying that by Kiddushin, it's not enough for us to know what you think. You need to tell us. And the proof is, if she talks and he gives it, mikudeshes. If she gives and he talks, then by an adam chashav it works. Why? Because he spoke, and it's like he gave by accepting her gift. When she gives it through his amira, anan sadi, we know dinas ratzis that she wants. Let's think, right? Let's talk about the flip side. She gave, he accepted, and he said Harei Mikudeshesli. The question is, okay, we know that he wants because he said it. How do we know she wants? We know she wants because she gave. But she never said she wants. Because for her das, we just need an umdina demuchach. And her giving when he talks is an umdina demuchach. So then why, listen, this is a brilliant raya, why when he gives and she talks, does it not work? We have an umdina demuchach that he wants. You hear this chokehold of the Nesivos? Why when she gives and he talks? It's a Mekudeshes by Adam Chashav. Why? Because it's like he's giving it to her, because his acceptance is like a giving. He's talking, and then now how do we know she wants? We know she wants because she gave it with his speaking. So that is umdina demuchach, that she wants. So then in that case, nasanhu va'amrahi, if he gave and she spoke, eina mekudeshes. It's not a marriage. Nasanhu va'amrahi, if he gives it and she talks, so then isn't it an umdina demuchach that he wants? No, but she's not married. Even if he says yes, the Beis Yosef says it doesn't help. You hear this? If a woman gives a gift to an Adam Chashav, it's like the Adam Chashav gave it to the woman. And if he speaks and she gave it, it works. Why? How do we know she wants to get married? The answer is it's Anan Sadi. He said Harei Mekudeshesli. She gave something, we know she wants. Then why don't we say the same thing? If he gives it and she spoke, why don't we have an Anan Sadi that he wants? The answer is Anan Sadi doesn't work. You need Amira. Ama de Kiddushin dibura be'inan. We see by Kiddushin you need speaking. V'loy mahani umdina demuchach. Umdina demuchach doesn't work. That's why you need Yados. Meaning the Nesivos learns the Sugya simply. The reason you need Yados by Kiddushin, it's not enough to know that a guy wants to get married. He has to talk. If he doesn't talk, there's no marriage. The $1 million question though is, why if you are asukin ba'isai ha'inyan? Why if they are having conversations about marriage, and in that context he gives her money, why are they married? He never had an amira of Harei Mekudeshesli. So you have to say that if you're asukin umedabrim ba'isai ha'inyan, that is like a Kiddushin. So when she says to him, I'm marrying you, and he says yes, that would not be an Amira, but so to speak, a general reference to marriage would be more, on his part, would be more of an Amira. Okay, that's the first approach. In other words, there's some kind of like Gezeras HaKosav. You need a Din Amira by Kiddushin.
Wouldn't this be a further proof for by Gittin by Rabbi Yehuda, and that in the get it has to specify specifically to make it active?
No, because everyone agrees you need a din amira. The question is, how specific does the dibur have to be?
And that's why they hold that it wouldn't do if it was just the dayim, it would not be good enough.
No, but everyone holds you do need amira. Now, another approach here is the Rech Shmuel. I mean, the first approach is it's Exeris HaKosav. You need Amira by Kiddushin, not to know that he wants it. We know he wants it. In order to effectuate marriage, you need Amira. You don't have it by Asukin Ba'isai Ha'inyan. So that's sort of a difficulty in the first approach. Why does it work if you were in general talking about marriage and then you give something, you don't seem to have an Amira there? The Berch HaShmuel has a different approach. The Berch HaShmuel's approach is V'nakdim. The Berch HaShmuel is found in Kiddushin Siman Aleph. It says V'nakdim divrei Meir v'Rabbi Hagoyin Ha'amiti Hachosid Rabban Shal Kol B'nei Hagoyla Zuchusa Yagin Aleinu Amen. I'm going to proceed with the words of his Rebbe, Reb Chaim Brisker. Ahadabai bin Nedarim im yesh yad lekedushin oilai Umuki kagan da amar la leisha areya mekadesh asli va'amar la lechaverta ve'at mi amrinan ve'at nami amar la lechaverta ve'tafsi ba kedushin lechaverta oidilma ve'at chazoi, or maybe he means you just watch. Amar la lechaverta v'loi tafsi ba kedushin lechaverta ve'hikshi Meir v'Rabbi zchusion al yomenu. The Reb Chaim asks, Matzrichan al din lashon gabi kedushin. Why do you need a din of amira? Ha'afilu umdina, even a proof that he wants to get married. Al yedei shadiber ima al yedei al inyane kedushin afal pi she'in boy din lashon gam kein mahani gabi kedushin da loy ba'inan din levate b'svasam gabi kedushin. Reb Chaim reiterates the question we see from the case of someone who is in having a general conversation with a woman about marriage, and he gives her something that they're married. So you see, you don't need a din amira, you just need to know that he wants to get married. Imkein afilu v'harei aran kasav devada yad moichiach havi da'at nami kamer. The Ran says that the yad over here is the yad moichiach. So asks Reb Chaim, even if there's no din of yad by kedushin, it should help the chalapaches have a kamay dibor ima al iske kedushin. Why is a yad moichiach any worse than hoya medaber ima al iske kedushin, where there also it doesn't seem to be a din of amira, and yet it works? So then it should work by yad moichiach as well. Why doesn't yad moichiach work? Let's say there's no din yados by kedushin, it should still work. Says Reb Chaim, an amazing chiddush. We don't make umdenois from a lashon of kedushin. What does that mean? It means like this. I'm going to say it outside first, then we'll read inside. The din of amira by kedushin is you must talk to effectuate a kedushin. What does it mean you must talk? That means not only do you need to be mechavein to acquire her and to do the ma'isa of kedushin by giving her kesef, you also have to be mechavein to do the act of kedushin by your words. Now, if the only way we see from your words that these are words for kedushin is through an umdana, then even though we know 100% that these words were said for kedushin, but you were not mechavein that the umdana created with the words should effectuate a kedushin. When you say hariyat mikudeshesli, you know you need to speak. You know the speaking creates the kedushin, and therefore you have kavana that your words effectuate the kedushin. But if your words are insufficient to effectuate the kedushin, and they only work because we could create an umdana from those words, you were never mechavein to utilize the umdana to effectuate the kedushin. Maybe you're mechavein to utilize words to effectuate a kedushin, but you're never mechavein to use the umdana from your words to effectuate the kedushin. Therefore, it's ineffective, not because we don't know what you want, but because you never had in mind that your words should effectuate the kinyan. V'tiretz Meir v'Rabbi Zechus Yagen Aleinu Amen. Demizeh muchach demin lashon shel kedushin, from a language of kedushin. We don't make an umdana. Bir dvarav hakadoshim heim. The explanation is, by kedushin you need to talk out of exersa kasav. The kiyikach means nasanhu va'amarhu. He gave it and he said it. Ubir hach exersa kasavu. The explanation is, the gabe kedushin, by kedushin mad be'inan das habal, that which we need das habal. Why do we need das habal by kedushin? Ein zarak mishum din kinyan. It's because it's a element of the acquisition. By transaction, we need das mishum chalois hakinyan. So he's saying the reason why you need amira by kedushin it's not only because we need the das of the person making the acquisition, like by all transactions, because then it would be enough if we knew what you wanted. And here, by Kiddushin, we know what you want. El melavad din das lasas kinyan, aside from having to have an awareness to make a kinyan, k'may b'shar kinyan, and to be in a das v'kavanas koineh, you need das to make this act into an act of Kiddushin. So by all kinyanim, you need to have an awareness, you need to have das. I want to buy this field. I want to buy this pen. I want to sell this item. So by a woman, you certainly have to have in mind you want to acquire her. But besides that, you need a separate das that what the actions you're doing will effectuate the halachic process of Kiddushin. And you need to be thinking that about your act of giving kesef, and you need to be thinking that about your words. But when you said words that did not articulate what you want, and we have to figure out what you want, you never had in mind that from what we figure out from what you said, that should be used to effectuate a Ma'aseh Kiddushin. When you say words, you have in mind, with these words I want to effectuate Ma'aseh Kiddushin. But when you say words, that from those words we need to figure out what you want, you never had in mind that when you guys figure out what I want, we will utilize what you figured out to effectuate the Ma'aseh Kiddushin. You never thought that, so it doesn't work. Vintage Bercha Shmuel. When you do an act of Kiddushin, you have to have a mindset that from your giving of money, as well as from your words, that should create halachic Kiddushin. But if from your words, we still have to go ahead and figure out what you want, you never had in mind that the words I say, what you are able to decipher from them should create an act of Kiddushin. That wasn't your kavanah. Okay? Here's another approach. Reb Shlomo Hyman. And that is, Reb Shlomo says, when Eidim witness Kiddushin, it's not enough for them to see the giving of the Kiddushin. They have to see the das of the Baal. When the Baal says Harei Mekudash Esli, they see the das of the Baal. But when the Baal says words, and there's only an umdana that's what he wants, there is no eidos that's what he wants, there's only a umdana, but we don't have two witnesses. To me, this is the most sound approach. In order to create Kiddushin, you need eidos. You don't just need eidos to verify that a procedure took place. You need eidos to create the holiest Kiddushin. You need eidos. When two witnesses see it, it makes Kiddushin. They need to see giving. They need to see the das of the Baal. They don't see the das of the Baal. The Baal said something, and there's a proof that's what he wants. Very nice that there's a proof, but there's no witnesses on it. An umdana is not eidos. The same way, if we don't know who a murderer is, but we have an umdana that somebody did the murder, that's called circumstantial evidence. So too in this case, they don't see the Baal's das. Even though you could ask, what do you mean? The Torah's Gittin had a chokehold on this. Because why don't we say there's an Anan Sadi? We're all witnesses. The same way when she gives him, when he's an Adam Chashav. And so it's like she received, and he talks. How do we know that she wants? Anan Sadi she wants. So you could say the same thing. When he gives and she talks, it's no more than an umdana. Why is that not Anan Sadi? But what Rav Shlomo is saying is that it creates an umdina de muchach, but that's not testimony. It says ulefiza yisyashiv shaper safek agmar the yeshali kedushin hainu im yad have a mamish kamay dibur. If yad is mamish like speaking, came nasan shtei prutas leisha v'amar la ram kedesh chaverta amar va'ad im yesh yad the kedushin have a mamish kamay de amar la va'ad nami v'royim ha'edem ma'aseh kedushin, the edem see the act and they see the das. Ein yad kedushin ein kan dibur shel kedushin. After muchach shenasan al Hashem kedushin kamag lo have rak umdana, and you don't have eidos. I'm going to share with you a fourth approach. The fourth approach is you don't need amira. You do not need amira, as long as we know what he wants. But we could only, and the proof is hayimedaber ima beiske kiddushin, so we know what he wants. But we will only utilize the method of giloi das if he doesn't talk. But once he talks, we have to use his words. And if we have to use his words, then if his words are incomplete, they're not going to work. In other words, we don't need words. We only need to know what he wants. Now, from the words, we know what he wants. That's fine. But now we have to ignore what he wants because he decided to talk. He decided to use, basically, there are two ways of knowing what somebody wants. Knowing what they want and what they say. But once a person talks, they're choosing to utilize a system of words. Yeah, but if those words are incomplete, we can't use them. So you say, well, use what he wants. Nah, he chose to use the other system. Meaning there are two possible systems. Knowing what he wants is good enough, but once he talks, he's opting into the talking system, and then the talking better be good. And if there's no din of Yados, the talking is not good. That's the approach of Rab Nachum. Rab Nachum says, "V'yesh b'kan derech noisefes b'oifenachar k'tzas da'afte iko umdina d'muchach gabei va'at d'daite l'kadsha." Even though there is an umdina d'muchach, and umdina d'muchach could work, v'kamagam kiven d'lishna va'at iko l'svuke b'chazoi, since the words could mean you watch, harei hadibur mevatos ha'umdina. Words cancel what we know you want. The piv soiseres libai. Your words are contradicting your heart. We know what you want, but your words are saying, and you watch. Now, if there's a din of Yados, your words are good. But if there's no din of Yados, your words cancel out what you're thinking. So basically, today we learned 4 approaches of why you need Yados by Kiddushin. The Nesiva says, because Anan Sadi is not good enough. Umdina is not good enough. There's a Gzeros HaKosav, you gotta talk. And the proof is, when she gives to an Adam Chashav, and he talks, it's good. How do we know what she's thinking? Anan Sadi. So why can't we use, when he gives and she talks, Anan Sadi, what he wants? You need Amira. It's a din in Kiddushin, you need Amira. The Berch HaShmuel says, that the reason you need Amira is really umdina demuchach could work. The problem is you need kavana. And you need kavana to do an act of Kiddushin with your act, and you need kavana that the words should make a Kiddushin. And if we only are able to use your words because of the umdana that comes out of them, you are not mechavin that umdana should be utilized to create a Maisa Kiddushin. The Rashba says that part of the Eidos is not only on the act, you need an Eidos on the Amira, and if the Amira is only creates an umdana, it's felt in the Eidos, you don't have Eidos on that. And Rab Nachum learns that even though umdina demuchach would work, and that's why medabri maliske kedushin works, because we know what you want. The problem is, we know what you want, but if you say words that without Yados contradict it, Asi dibur umevatel leumdana. So these are 4 approaches: the Torah's Gittin, the Berchas Shmuel, Chidushei Reb Shloima, Chidushei Reb Nachum. Have a great day, everyone. Bracha v'atzlacha. See you later. Kol tov.
Recording stopped.